Yo, welcome back to another episode of this week's Drop.
Good morning.
With myself, Sidney Smith, and my brother over here, Mr. David Greaves. What's good, bruh?
How are you, sir?
I'm good. We got another great show lined up with you. We're going to kick it off with a topic that's near and dear to my heart, stand-up comedy. I love it. That's my career. That's what I do. And we're going to get into a little bit of the Andrew Schulz, Kendrick Lamar shit. Andrew said something I wish he had not said for the benefit of himself. I think one of the most important things in life as a man is to know your lane. And Andrew said something recently, I should say, that he could S.A. Kendrick Lamar, and there's nothing Kendrick could do about it. Where were you at with it when I sent it over to you? The initial clip.
The initial clip was, say, disheartening, because if you thought about it, that means you thought about it.
It was weird.
And sexually assaulting another man forcibly.
Yeah. That's
like it was just weird, and I didn't understand the energy. And then to double down on it. Yeah. Like, again, I hate to say it, as a fan of comedy, that sometimes we step into a lane that we don't understand. And I think he stepped into a lane of, well, I'm just going to be wrong and strong, and doesn't understand that there are repercussions and consequences.
Well, let me get a backstory on kind of how we got here. So a couple of months ago, Andrew did a podcast with two brothers from over the pond.
Yes.
From England. And there were some things that were said about black women that I didn't agree with Andrew saying, whether he's knows the life of a black woman's dated a black woman, whatever you want to say. I didn't agree with him saying it. It was something along the lines of black women being abrasive, almost to the point of almost being abusive. That's why black men have to have beards, to help the impact of a slap. Then he asked the two brothers, have they ever dated black women and white women, which they both said yes. And then ask which one was better or which one do you prefer? Almost hoping to lead them to where he wanted to go, which white women would be better.
Nonsense. But
Kendrick created a song. He did a song on his latest CD where I'm not going to say it exactly, but you guys will get the premise, where he says a white comedian should not be talking about black women. And in response to this was where Andrew wanted to go, was speaking about what he could do to Kendrick, and there would be nothing Kendrick could do about it. Again, paraphrasing, if we were both in a jail cell after we got done tattooing each other, I could do whatever I want, and there's nothing he could do about it. Fast forward to just a few days ago, and I think people were waiting to see what Charlemagne, who is Andrew's podcast partner on Brilliant Idiots, everybody wanted to see what Charlemagne would say. And Charlemagne's take on it was initially, hey man, Andrew said what he said, Kendrick said what he said, and I think both of them have the right to respond to each other.
Yes.
But then Andrew decided I'm going to double down.
Yeah, that was the problem.
And said, well, I'm just saying, again, all of his friends, and I'm not going to mention the crew, but those fellas who wear blue, all of those guys could do whatever to me because I'm not a tough guy. Yes. But then followed right behind it and said, but I'm going to say again, there's nothing Kendrick could do about this if I did this to him. And Charlemagne at that point leaned. I'm a big body language guy. Yeah. Charlemagne leaned all the way opposite of where Andrew was sitting.
I don't want none of that heat.
And he just said, "What are you doing? Yeah. What are you doing?" And so that was the second time he opened his mouth. So I don't understand, and that's just to give you guys who didn't know where we're at with it, a little bit of a backstory. I don't know why you would do that. And I told you, and I told a couple other people, and you and I were just talking about it before we started the show. It isn't always about you can say whatever you want because I'm an artist or I'm a comic or I can make whatever song I want. There are still lines you're not supposed to cross. Yeah. As a comedian, I know there are lines that I'm not supposed to cross. There's certain groups of people normally, unless it's your lane, you don't want to cross and go off into that wilderness because it's going to be nothing but a lot of heat for you. As a rapper, you know the same thing. Yeah. There's certain things, unless you want that smoke, there's certain things. It sounds good. Yeah. So I don't know what Andrew was thinking. There's no reason to put yourself in this type of danger. And then I see headlines where he's saying he's gotten death threats. No shit.
We go to this all the time, Sid. Everybody can get touched.
Anybody can be touched.
And I think that his mouth was writing checks that I don't think his behind can cash. Because, well, I'm just being funny. Yes, you were being funny. You were trying to do a joke.
Yeah.
But you talked about assaulting somebody.
Yes.
And thought that was funny. And then when people said, oh, maybe you should pull back on that, you said, no, I'm not. Because my license is I'm a comedian. I get to joke about everybody and everybody gets to smoke.
Right.
Okay. Smoke goes both ways though, bruh.
Yes.
And it's not, Kendrick ain't got to say nothing. This is the problem that I think folks forget about real hood cats. I don't have to say anything. My people are going to do something because they want the same respect and energy that they're putting out. And I don't know if he realizes it, but he might soon.
You can take, and this is you and I discussing, and I said this well to folks too. You can take Kendrick out of it. You can take the affiliation of his out of it. Grown man to grown man. Another grown man could not come up to me and say he could essay me. Yeah. And there's nothing he could do about it. Yeah. Okay. I'm waiting to hear what's your punchline, because there better be a punchline and it better be a good one.
To be fun, it's got to be funny.
Or you and I got a problem.
On site.
So that's just me with an ordinary dude out here anywhere.
And he's doubled down on it. See, the first one you might have been able to let it slide, but he doubled and tripled and stamped it in and was like, yeah, I said it and this is what it, as we always say, keep that same energy.
Keep that same energy. And I know Andrew probably thinks of himself, and a lot of people think of him as a provocateur because of the thing he says on stage and the type of material he does. And he talks about this race, this person, that person. But there's certain things are an absolute no-no. And I was still interested in what Charlamagne was going to have to say. Where are you at with Charlamagne's initial viewpoint being, well, Kendrick said what he said, Andrew said what he said, and they both have the right to say what they want to say.
Yes. We always say that everybody has the right to speak their part. But again, you also got the right to get punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
And this is what I don't think society understands as a whole. You know, when it's everything's equal, great. But there are some people who don't take well to you criticizing them. And I like the dude. Schulz, he's a funny guy. But I think that this is when you cross the line of, well, I date black women, and so I have the ability to speak on another race or to another man in a way that's just like him and his boys. You're not part of the clique, so you don't.
See, so there's a couple of different things I want to say about it too. So when Kendrick initially was trying to make fun of Kendrick, or Andrew was initially trying to make fun of Kendrick because Kendrick made the lyric, hey, don't say anything about black women. And then Andrew's initial joke was, oh, here rappers, like they respect women and so on and so forth.
That was easy. That was a good one. I let it go at that point. But when you doubled down, when you first said, I'm going to essay him, that took everything, all the joke out of it. Now it's not a joke.
Well, here's where I'm going to cut the legs underneath what Andrew had to say when he made that statement. Because here you are saying what you're saying and believing you should have the right to say it, and I'm an artist and so on and so forth. When you cut the legs from underneath what rappers do in terms of their art.
Yeah, wrong is wrong.
You see what I'm saying? And the other thing I would say is this was wrong from the get-go. He should have never been sitting. See, if those two, and this was an argument that a lot of black men were making before, those two black men from England, London, wherever, those podcasters, should have checked him initially.
Yeah, immediately. Like, brother, that's not okay.
That's not cool. And so I'm married to a white woman. You're married to a white woman. I feel okay with saying neither one of us are married to them because they're white. You see what I'm saying?
No.
So for him, what the initial statement was to ask, both of you been with black and white women, which one is better?
That's it. Again, women are women. We say it all the time. When people ask me, I'll be like, listen, I didn't go out there saying I'm choosing a white woman or a black woman or a Spanish. I chose a woman who chose me. Yeah. But again, I think he needs to publicly apologize
and shut up.
If he doesn't get to, and just shut up. Just be funny. That wasn't funny. You said a bad joke. Ha ha. Okay, correct it, or else they're going to correct you. Because don't think that folks won't come hunting for you.
And be the last thing you hear.
Yeah.
Look, the other thing too, and taking Kendrick out of it completely, and you tell me if you agree or disagree with me on this. In our community, we don't play that shit anyway.
No.
We even 2024, and a lot of people don't like to talk about it, but within our community, Black people are still very, I don't know what the word I want to use, but we are still very iffy on men of that lifestyle, of that group. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying it that way because I'm not sure what YouTube is going to let me say. So, but you guys get what I'm saying. Our community, the Black community, African Americans are still iffy on our men being a part of that group.
Yes.
And I can say that because I have relatives that I have this conversation with, that generation, those generations before me, who are, when we have open dialogue, they not having it.
No.
They are not having
it. But they also came from their foot on the neck, literally, physically, and not just being oppressed or not being invited to certain rooms. Mm-hmm. So again, when he started to talk about I've dated, so that makes it okay because you dated a Black woman. No, it doesn't make it okay. So it's like saying the N-word. You can't say the N-word. Not around me.
Not at all.
I don't care if you say it in a song and you heard it. It's just a no-go. I don't want it to be okay. So I'm going to immediately, that's why you say immediately check it.
Yeah.
Listen, it's not cool. Change the subject. We can move on. And then after, I'm sure somebody said to him, Charlamagne had to say, bro, let's stop.
Right. I'm going to try to cover you on this.
But he was like, no, I'm standing 10 toes down. So, and that's why Charlamagne moves away, because I don't want that heat. I know what's coming.
Yes, sir.
I got sponsors. I got folks that I'm responsible to. You could go ahead and act like it doesn't affect you.
I still say the sponsorship is the least of his worries if you're talking that nonsense.
I would hope so. I would hope it just be sponsors, because I don't never want to see nobody get physically hurt because of some dumb stuff that they said. But there's repercussions and consequences, and you got to be willing to take whatever comes because you double down on it.
But I think if Andrew thought sponsorship would be the issue, he doesn't say it. Because if his sponsorship was going to be the issue,
he has a lot of stuff beforehand that
and his fan base is probably going to love him even more. Mm-hmm. But again, my concern, if I'm him, is them.
Yeah, you still got to travel.
Not sponsors, not them.
Yeah, because it don't have to be a California Kendrick fan. It could be a St. Louis Kendrick fan.
Bro, we done lost people in the hip hop.
Yes,
and a couple of our biggest names, obviously, Tupac and Biggie, based off of
extra,
some peripheral figures.
And I hope that somebody will speak to him and get him to understand that it ain't got to be Kendrick and them coming at him. There's folks that are just sitting there waiting for a reason to step up and show, look at me. I did it. I did it for the race. I did it. I'm going to show them on either side, either way.
Yeah, every joke, and I can say this as a person that gets paid money to tell jokes, and I make a living telling jokes. I'm not an open micer, so when I say this, I know what I speak of. There are jokes that I write that I may even think is funny that no one has ever heard. There are jokes I tell open mic comics who are coming up who want to make jokes about essay.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me tell you something. That is never going to be funny. No. You're going to have to be so specific.
Yes.
When you become someone whose name is on a marquee to have that fan base, and they're going to love you to an extent that they're going to allow that.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Andrew Dice Clay would be
perfect example.
And I don't know if he ever did this.
No, but he had a lane that was really a lane that was a little over this way, but not too much this way. And you see, but eventually it wears thin. So again, I think that comedy, what you think is funny, I may not think is funny. And some things that I think funny, a lot of people don't. They're like, that wasn't that funny. I think it's hilarious. But I'm one of 100. So eventually it wears out. And I think that you can't continue to throw stones at things before the stones come back.
And I would say also, to your point, as a comic, you can also come up with a joke that you're the only person that's going to think is funny.
Yes.
And, but I would also say, to your point, we can move on. Bruh, if you're out there and you have a family and you're wanting to do this thing, don't put yourself in the crosshair, so to speak.
Unnecessary. Again, it was unnecessary. The first time he said it, let it go. But you keep, like, you thinking, oh, well, I'm not scared of it. Oh, okay.
There's a number of Kendrick Lamar jokes I could sit down and write within 5 minutes that would have had nothing to do with that if I wanted to get back at Kendrick.
Yes.
Instead of crossing that line.
Because you didn't just put Kendrick in the line. You put the initial joke of black women.
Yeah, that's the initial.
Yeah, so you not only got this pile, but you got this pile now.
And here's the other thing I want to say too. I was going to move on past it, but I do want to say this. Here's where I am upset with us as a whole. When I say us, I mean human beings on this planet, in this country. If Kendrick was Kendra, and Kendrick didn't have a penis but had a, this would be a completely different conversation, and everybody from the Today Show to wherever else would be having a completely different discussion.
Yes.
But because it's a man, and some people would even say a Caucasian man to a black man, this is nothing but a little bit of fodder for folks.
It's water that you don't want to go into, and you went into unnecessarily. So again, it's like I want to throw him one of those inner tubes.
Yeah.
To save yourself, the only way to save yourself is to say, I didn't realize it was a mistake. I thought it was funny. It was in bad taste. Forgive me.
So let me tell a story. So years ago, back in Detroit, I'm at a VFW hall where me and my friends used to hang out because my buddy's mom was members, and we just have a good time. I even produced a couple of comedy shows there, so we would just have a good time. If you've never been to a VFW hall, it's one of the best places to go. Man, it was
a good time,
fun. So we're in there, and a motorcycle group comes in, and they're wearing their colors. The sign on the front, like at most VFW halls, no colors.
Yeah. It's a no-no.
These guys come in, I want to say 20, 30 deep, somewhere around there. I'm standing there next to an older gentleman who's wearing a General Motors button-up over his white T-shirt. And so he and I start speaking because my mother's a General Motors retiree. And we're having a great conversation. Young guy in his cuts, colors, whatever, comes in, sees me, and then goes back. And then now all of these guys in colors come over, and they want to go with me for whatever reason. And I'm sorry, I missed one part of it. There's one of the members that comes over, and he's panicking, older guys. He's panicking because all these guys are in here in their colors. The older gentleman in the General Motors button-up says, well, what's the problem? They're not causing a problem at all. And these two start to have a conversation. That's when all these guys come in. And this is because the young kid brought him in.
Yeah.
As if, and what I come to learn is he was a
prospect
trying to make his bones.
Yeah.
Now, you know me, you 20, 30 could be 100 of you. I'm not backing down. What I didn't know was that the old man next to me was the retired leader of the group.
Oh, really? Oh.
And he said, everybody calm down.
Yeah.
And he pointed at two friends of mine and said, you take him pointing at me back there into the kitchen, and you keep him there till I tell you guys to come out. So I'm back in the kitchen, and I'm F this, F that. I don't care. Let me. They like, you need to chill out. I'm like, no, I don't care, man.
Yeah, everybody get this smoke.
And so I come back out, and they're all seated at a table, and the old man is sitting there. He said, I want you to come over here. So I walk over there, and I sit next to him, and he says, I want you to understand something. You didn't do anything. And he looks around at every one of those members, and he taps you on the knee. You didn't do anything. You were fine, young man, and we were having a good conversation. Yeah. And taps you on the knee. And I said, okay, well, thank you very much. He shakes my hand, and he said, that's it. And I got up and I walked away. And as I'm walking away, because I didn't know, a couple of guys said, you know what just happened, right? I said, no. He said, he told all of those guys, you're not to be touched. They're not to, he said, because those guys are the type of guys that follow you home.
Yeah.
Burn your house down, whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, I didn't know.
I wasn't thinking that far ahead.
I just know that I'm not backing down. I didn't do shit. And you're not about to bring 20 guys over here.
This is why how you conduct yourself is super important. Because suppose you and the old man didn't have a great conversation.
Yeah.
Suppose you were, well, I'm just going to show everybody that could have ended horrible.
Could have ended all different kind of ways. But you're right, and but I was taught to respect my elders.
Yes.
And we like again, just a great conversation.
Nice yeah.
But my point was, this is what Andrew needs to hope Kendrick does for him.
Yes.
Rather literally or figuratively, just sit down.
Give him a pass.
bruh, you good.
Yeah. Again, because it's not just Kendrick. Andrew, you go around from city to city. You don't always have a bunch of people with you. You could be walking to the show by yourself. And they don't act like them. They don't care about wrecking a comedy show.
None of it. None of it.
So
just that's what he needs.
Be smarter again, because anybody can get. I'm not promoting it. I'm just letting folks know. Anybody at any given time. Yes, it was comedy. He was trying to be funny, and I get it, but you went past the line of it was funny.
Way past.
It's like when you tell a joke in a comedy show and nobody laughs. You don't continue to say the same joke again and again and again and again and again, because at some point.
Well, I'm going to, one correction. It depends. So I may tell a joke again. Maybe this isn't a night for it. Maybe it wasn't audience. But maybe the joke is new. Maybe what so. Not anything. Not going out of my way to be insulting.
But that's what happened is that you went out of your way to insult another man again and again, and it's like the joke didn't hit. Okay, so now I'm gonna say the joke again. I'm gonna repeat it again. Yeah. I'm gonna repeat it again. I'm gonna repeat it again for the same audience.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I've known a lot of dudes over the years. I've been in the military. I lived here. I lived there. I lived whatever. And I've just never had anyone joke with me or heard anyone joke that way or joke that way myself that I could essay a man.
Yeah,
and then not to expect people like, where did that even what?
Yeah, where does that thought come from? That's my problem, is that you thought about this, because you don't think about something. It didn't just pop in your head and it came out your mouth. You thought about it. Yeah, you put some time and energy into the scenario of being in jail. And then we tattooing each other. Like, whoa, bro, whoa.
Of all places you didn't say we could be on the beach in Hawaii, nothing.
We both inmates in jail and we tattooing each other. And then, okay, bro.
It was weird, man.